You know, you think Egypt and you think something that's kind of back in time, right? When I was younger, it was all about, oh, you're from Egypt. Did you ride on a camel? Were you raised in a tent? Was your house a pyramid? Are all the cars camel? Which is not the case, by the way, because I grew up here, right? We drink tea. It's probably like a British thing. I don't know. You know, when they get tea, don't ask me actually. Take some water. Put it in here. Filtered water is better, especially when it comes to tea and coffee, right? Filtered water brings the flavor more of the tea out. So my name is Mohammed Abdel Hamid. My parents moved here from Egypt, so I'm technically first generation. They would be zero, I guess. I'm the first generation Egyptian American. When you first meet an Egyptian person, you know Egyptians are very outgoing. They're very easy and comfortable around people. And this is me with hair, by the way.
Yeah, same with hair.
Yeah. Oh man. They're very social, but I'd say the biggest quality is they're funny. So this mint, so see if you can smell this with a camera. I wish I had, you know, that zero gener. I wish if I was born there, I would have that so much more. But I may be funny, maybe not. I try to be.
Oh yeah, she'll do that.
She goes, I miss this guy.
Mind you, it's a family picture.
It's a family picture. That's so funny.
She'll just uncover his face.
Buffalo, New York, Baltimore, Maryland, Syracuse, Staten Island. Those were our young years. So we moved a lot. We had to adapt. Me and my brother had to adapt a lot. That formed our personality. Just moving from one place to another, meeting different people was good for us, but no long-term friends, having to like adjust to a new environment, be that new guy, and kind of just try and fit in. That's part of my personality now. It doesn't matter that I haven't moved in 30 years now. I'm always just trying to fit in, trying to like come a little closer. One guy from Egypt, my cousin, said, when you take this, right, make sure you crush it in your hand, you know, like this, to really get the flavor, and then put it in. I don't know if that makes any better, but that was definitely a tip, you know what I mean? The kids really didn't see an American, I don't think so. And I was born here, so I didn't have an accent or anything. Back then we used to call bad handwriting chicken scratch, but they used to call my handwriting camel scratch, you know, that kind of stuff, and that stuff didn't bother me, but I don't think they saw Egyptian that much. I think they just remembered as kids, oh, he's Egyptian, let's come up with a funny joke or something, right? I did not feel like there was a dissonance. On the contrary, I felt pretty American myself. I didn't see anything to create a contradiction. So it's really like experience, you know, how much to put in, right? After you put it in, how much do you want the water to boil too, right? You don't want it to steep, right? Too long, right? We came back to Florida. Again, this was another move, probably like the 7th, 8th move we had in our life, right? And we came to Orlando. When people saw that I was Egyptian, they would be like, you're Egyptian? Tell me more. Tell me about the food. Tell me about this. Hey, immediately there was this interest, and I became proud again of my culture. And they wouldn't have these lame jokes, you know, or walk like an Egyptian, you know. That's what most people think first, right? Now it's pretty much ready. My parents, they may have created this bubble, this Egyptian bubble, right, and inside of an American environment. But I have no problem feeling American. I have no problem feeling Egyptian, and I have no discomfort moving between the two. I think that's correct. And, you know, as an experiment, I would like to ask somebody else, you know, that's been in the same boat and see if they have the same experience, or if it's just unique. That's definitely something I'm interested in finding out.
My name is Carmen Olivo Rosario, and I am originally from the Dominican Republic. In the early 70s, two of my dad's sisters immigrated to the United States with their husbands, and then they had done a petition through the immigration services to get my dad over to New York City as well, with the intent to, one, get them out of the country because the government was very unstable, and for a better life. We end up living in Brooklyn, New York, in a section of Brooklyn called Williamsburg. And Williamsburg is right by the Williamsburg Bridge. That's how it got its name. It was easy to integrate into that area because we knew people that knew us at that time. And my parents had already been there for a little bit, a couple of years by the time I came. So that made it a little easier. So the day of 9/11 was just a regular, normal day for me. I got up in the morning, we were going to work, and I decided to take a ride with my husband to Jersey City, kind of cut my commute that way, and we were going to spend a little time in the car. I hear on one of the radios from one of the conductors that a 747 or something or close to that hit one of the towers, and I'm like, wait a minute, but that's not normal. Like, those are not regular planes. Finally, I got into the city around 8:40, maybe 8:40 something. And I was on the corner of 5th and Broadway, right there by Lord & Taylor's. And I looked down the Canyon of Champions where the Yankees always get their parade on Broadway. And I looked down and all I see is a ball of fire. So when I arrived there and I took a moment to stop and look down, I actually saw the tower fall, the first tower, and the ball of fire and all the dust and all the smoke. And from there, I literally ran to Madison and 39, which is where my office was. So in 2003, when I finally graduated, it was like a big load off my shoulders. Like, now I can do whatever I want. I can go anywhere now. But then that August again, the city, actually not just the city, the whole northeast of the United States went through a scenario where the whole grid, there was an issue with the grid and the whole eastern side of the United States lost power. I was in the city when that happened. And when I got home, that was really sad because they were all sitting outside. You know, it's the middle of August, so it's hot. And they were all sitting on the doorstep, waiting to see if I was ever gonna come home. Family Time magazine had done an article, I think in 2000, that Orlando was one of the best places to raise a family. We came on vacation to Miami to take a cruise, and we visited my uncles and everybody to show them the kids. And he said, you know, you guys always saying you're gonna move and you never move. I think it's a great time for you to move. And after that, I said to Alex, you know what, when we get back, why don't we put the house up for sale? Let's just take the plunge, let's do it. The Dominican Republic is a small country, but it's small, but it is very diverse. We have influences from everywhere. So we were very creative people, and it shows in the things we produce. Our Independence Day is February 27th, so we also are aware of that. And we do special dishes that, you know, keep us grounding and give you that feeling of being back home. And usually in the house, you know, we either have a flag, we have, if you look over there on that wall, I have some plates that kind of have some traditional paintings from back home. I think it was very important for us to make sure that the kids know that our heritage, where it comes from.
My name is Puxiao Sen. I was born in Guangzhou, China. I went to Hong Kong for the first time in 1980s, and later on in 1992, I immigrated to US with family and started my residency training in 1995. After cardiology training, I moved to Orlando, and now 20 years past, I am still happily living here and practicing cardiology here. The person who influenced me the most is my father. He was able to, while at the same time a younger professor at the age of early 40s in orthopedic surgery and a non-party member, and that includes multiple gentle turning down or refusal of the invitation of the Communist Party. So he was afraid that if this government still continue and I need to be wise at the same time, be conscientious of how to protect myself and my family. How he prepared me is by reading novels, Jane Austen at Regency era. Those stories would be captivating for a young girl like me, at the same time safe, completely safe. It has nothing to do with the political environment. The book also have a lot of social commentary of those times, and that also is an example for me to see my world now. He instilled in me of this, you should have your own way of judging your environment, what other people say, and how people behave, why they behave that way, and not to label people so hastily, really read into each person. And that prepared me after I came to America to be a good doctor. I came here in 1992 and I started my residency in 1995. And the first time I was rotating through the 8th floor, it was at the pretty early stage of my immigration journey. At that time was the AIDS crisis in mid-1990s, even though the situation was better than late 80s or early 90s, but still there was no antiviral cocktail like now, being so effectively treating AIDS patients as a chronic illness. In those days is a death sentence. And because I was trying to learn more about the society, so after I signed out at 7 o'clock or 6 p.m., I would stay behind and care for them more. They are pretty lonely at a very vulnerable time, so I felt that I'm helping them too. So we are helping each other, I have to say, and they become my community. And I often just sit in because they allow me. They see me as a little curious, well-intentioned friend who in the daytime was their doctor, resident doctor, and evening time I'm so eager to learn and try to understand them. And that was the fastest growing in terms of a new identity of me being shaped. Interestingly, is among a group of gay men when they're really, really sick. And that was also the beginning of my interest of medical ethics and end-of-life care. But most importantly is the openness of this country. People are so nice. They allow me to stumble. They allow my awkwardness, at least for the long time at the beginning. And because of that forgiveness, the kindness also instilled in me, I learned from the people in America. I want to be like them. Also, when I'm able, I help others. When here, making my home in Central Florida, and raised my family here. I'm so grateful, and I want to continue to contribute. And also, I think that when the difficult times comes, when the country, economy, and a lot of different area get hit because of the pandemic, and I hope that we can all get through this difficult time. And I want to continue to contribute, and I'm thankful for everyone else in this beautiful Orlando.
Have I found a sense of place or belonging in Central Florida? I would say I'm creating it for myself. I'm an outsider, I'm an intruder, I shouldn't be here, which is the story of my life. But will I allow this gallery to die? Hell the no. Spit, glitter, and glue, I've done this before, I will survive one way or another. My name is Boris Garby, and I was born in Berlin, Germany in 1965. In 1970, my parents moved to Nicaragua, and I lived there for about 9 years. Every country I lived in, I always felt like an outsider, because I literally was from another place. I didn't speak the language. In Nicaragua, it was easier because I was young and I didn't really understand how complicated it is to move from one country to another. I was young, I was resilient, I learned the language very fast. When I came to the United States, that took longer, and that's when I realized for the first time the idea of being a stranger in a strange culture. Growing up in the late 70s and having the realization that I might be gay was extremely complicated. I did not want to be gay. I certainly was trying to fit in, and I remember trying to think about women, but it never came together, you know. And I was that awkward, weird kid that was skinny, had a weird name, and I got bullied and beaten up pretty much on a daily basis. I had no one to talk to about it. I didn't have gay friends. I contemplated suicide. Thank God I never followed through, but it also started the seeds of my alcoholism. I remember that I had been beaten up in a bathroom and they had dunked my head in the toilet and flushed it. And I remember I remember going to my favorite teacher, and she said to me, "You just have to put up with this. You have to endure this. You have to be strong. Don't let them see that you're suffering." I realized I couldn't live the way I lived. You know, I've had to come out of the closet many times. First, as a gay man. Second, as an alcoholic. Third, as somebody who does not believe in a higher power. And now as a gallerist that is not that interested in art. One of the things that I'm doing here at Mills Gallery, which has been very controversial, but I'm beginning to understand it better and better, is that I've been very honest about the fact that I don't know much about art. But my passion is not the art. My passion is the artist. What we do here at Mills is we allow the artist to find the voice to their story that they've never told. I would say I'm creating a sense of place or belonging in Central Florida. My whole story, the Boris story, couldn't have happened anywhere else. This idea that this guy who knows nothing about art, that I could have a successful gallery, that could have never happened in Europe, that could have never happened in South America, that could have only happened here. Because this is a melting pot, not just of people, but of ideas. I now know that I'm worthy, that I'm a good friend, that what I have to say every once in a while means something. Some things fall away in the journey, and some things are gained. I think the balance for me is pretty perfect right now.
I'm Terry Olson. I'm privileged to be Fusion Fest's chief instigator. I grew up in Alaska, 8 stars of gold on a field of blue. Alaska, the last frontier, and it was definitely a place where people came from all over. I was excited to come there from Minnesota, where I had been on an Indian reservation and been a minority student and bullied a lot. But I think that adventurous experience of Alaska helped shape who I am today. In my ancestors, who first came to this country in 1610, got on a little boat, coincidentally, same boat that my wife's ancestor was on, got shipwrecked in the Bermudas, finally made it to Jamestown, and then my ancestors kept coming, moving west into the frontier and exploring new territory. I like to do that myself. The reason we came to Orlando was that SAC Theater, that I was a co-founder of, was performing at Renaissance festivals around the country, a style of audience participatory street theater that we developed, and people who were developing Epcot Center saw us and wanted us to come perform for the first 3 months of Epcot, but we figured be here longer than 3 months, so 9 of us all moved down here, piled into 4 apartments that we got, and have been here now almost 30, 40 years. Hi, I'm Terry, one of the founders of SAC. Over the 40 years or more, we went from a street theater to the SAC Comedy Lab, several locations downtown, and now here at the corner of Pine and Church Street.
To the garage space.
What haven't you done?
Jumped off a perfectly good airplane.
I have done that.
All right, I'm out.
Terry Olson turned Orlando from a mosquito-thriving swamp into the arts mecca that it is today.
Because, Rob?
Because
Terry Olson is America!
And Fusion Fest is by far the biggest thing I've ever worked on. Not only with over 100 heritages participating, but music, dance, fashion, spoken word, literature, visual arts gallery, interactive activities. A recent study by the Economic Development Board says that by the year 2030, we may very well be the most diverse major city in the world. So how are we going to deal with that? Throughout history and across the world, when different cultures come together, one thing that can happen is fear and distrust leading to hate and friction. But another way is when cultures work together, is they're more innovative and more influential. Personal life mission is to create dynamic events that enliven people. So what I hope to leave behind are people that are closer together, that is a community that supports one another, that loves and respects one another. So if you enjoyed this talk, my name is Terry Olson. If you didn't enjoy this talk, my name is Jim Helsinger.
Orlando. I didn't like Orlando at first when I moved to here at the day one. But then day by day, it grew up in me, and I love it, being in Orlando. My name is Cindy Nga Pham. The reason I picked Cindy because when I became a United States citizen, in Denver, Colorado, I travel a lot of times on Federal Boulevard, and I saw the sign named Cindy. We escaped from Vietnam when I was 10 from the Central City, Hue, from the small bamboo boat. We was on that boat for 20 people. Once I on the boat, I got seasick right away. I was faint for all the days, did not know much about things happen around me, but all I see was just blue sky and green water. And we was on that boat for 7 days. We went out water, and very blessed. We received water from Haven, which is heavy rain, and that's where we catch the water from those water to get survive. And we've been live in Hong Kong for almost 2 years in the refugee camp. November 1980, we arrived to Denver, Colorado. We start our flight over in Denver, Colorado. I went to Orlando, away from home, just by myself in Orlando. The culture that we brought with us when we left Vietnam is very unique. When we left Vietnam, we never think about like we can go back to Vietnam. We never, at that point, we never think that we can come back and visit. So my father bought so much stuff, souvenir from Vietnam. He wants his children to continue the root of the Vietnamese, how technique of the Vietnamese people. Each of us have a different faith. I grew up in the Buddhist family. So when we in Orlando, I just want to find the Buddhist temple. In that temple, beside the souvenirs and the culture of the family, at the temple, I grow my language, the Vietnamese language, because there's a lot of Vietnamese community there. Culture, the souvenirs, just like the nuns and the monks there also remind us is the culture of the Vietnamese. Veggie Garden, when I started in 2013, is a veggie garden restaurant. We serve in vegan and vegetarian food. At first, we didn't get much of the clients because it's slow business because we're new. 2 or 3 years, we didn't do that great. But then after 4, 5, and then we start like involved with all the festival around in Orlando, like Fusion Festival in Orlando. We participate all the festival that we share our good food, vegan and vegetarian food to people in Orlando. And they love our food. I'm so happy. But the food can keep the younger generation going. The music, the faith, the Vietnamese Buddhist culture, those are the mark that I can leave behind for the younger generation.
Thank you so much. You're awesome.
My name is Oksana, and this is my daughter Alexandra. We call her Sasha, and my little granddaughter Sofia. We are 3 generations of Russian-speaking women living here in the United States. I came here a long time ago in 1985. I was born and raised in Moscow, a very special city for me. My great-grandfather had 10 children. One of them was my grandfather, Dmitry. He was an engineer, which was a rare profession back then. He became an engineer before the revolution in 1904. My father came from a little village in Ukraine. His family was very poor. And he had 2 younger brothers, and he was telling me that since the age of 5 he was working. He was helping his dad in the fields. I cherish our family history, our traditions. I have a lot of items which I got from my mother, like an old family album, like a lot of antique items we had in the family. My dad was the best student in school. He was very, very bright and very hardworking, and he always wanted to leave that village and pursue the better future for himself. And he was already in the army when the World War II started in Russia. In school, I met friends whose some of the parents were diplomats who was able to travel the world. In Soviet Union, we were living like behind the Iron Curtain. We wasn't able to go abroad. It was prohibited, like especially for my dad, because he was a big scientist and he wasn't able to go abroad. My best friend's mother was ballerina in Bolshoi theater, and she traveled the world. And I was friends with her daughter Natalia since I was a little kid, and we liked to sit at the kitchen and talk about life. She was like a dream for me. And since like age of 9 or 10, she got into our heads that beautiful girls like us and smart, we should get out of Soviet Union.
I'm very curious about the world out there, and my family is very multinational. We are a very international family. I am half Russian, half Ukrainian. I've been to Ukraine. My ex-husband, my daughter's father, he's Dominican. And I love Latino culture. It's just the music and dancing. It's just my second nature. Russia is not just the land, it's what is in your heart, and it's the language, it's the culture, it's food, it's literature, it's poetry, and they're exposed to all of this, and I'm very proud of my daughter. She got it to a different level, like higher level that I ever accomplished. She's a great singer. My life is kind of like a parallel, the normal American life, and I'm still Russian. I live my Russian life with my Russian friends, with Russian community, And I encourage my daughter and my little one, my little granddaughter, to love Russia.
To assimilate and integrate into a community, you do so with your differences, because we are a melting pot. And when you are a melting pot, you're the carrot, I'm the onion. Somebody sells a tomato doesn't become a carrot, an onion doesn't become a tomato. We all form part of the soup. And this soup is so interesting and so delicious. I mean, when you try the different foods, when you see the different outfits, everything with so much color, it is beautiful. Hello, I am Beatriz Andrkovich, and I am from Mexico City, Mexico. I came to the United States after my husband and I got married in 1995. We first lived in Pennsylvania for 1 year, and then we lived in Fort Myers in Florida, and then in Lake Mary, that's where we live now, since 2003. First in Fort Myers, I joined the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce because they had many art events. And we were able to find out the local artists in the area and invite them to exhibit in a place, because you always need a place to be able to have an exhibition. So I was able to find local Mexican artists and have exhibitions. One other place is the Consulate of Mexico, where they have a gastronomic fair. They also have an international film fair. They also have a tequila fair, or contest for children to show alebrije, which is a creature made of different animals or something totally imaginary like a dragon. So I participate with them. I just made an exhibit in the Consulate of Mexico for the Independence Day. So that's how I have tried, and other people are trying to. I'm not the only one. In that sense, we are very lucky that here in Central Florida, we have the Museum of Art, the Orlando Museum of Art, and they have a wonderful collection of pieces from pre-Hispanic Mexico. They also have some pieces from Panama, from Costa Rica, and from Peru. In the case of Mexico, they have pieces from the state of Mexico. They also have them from Mexico City, from Campeche, that's in the peninsula, and they have some from Oaxaca, that's the southwest. Where could I find Mexican goods? Well, we're very lucky that we find many Mexican restaurants, and some of them have stores. La Hacienda, I like La Hacienda restaurant and store because they started as a store and then they grew into a small restaurant and then they grew into a bigger restaurant. I love going to the store because there are many things that I ate as a little kid, tecancitos, pingüinos, chocorroles, submarinos, if you're from Mexico, go, yes, I know those. And I can go into the store and find them. I can find sangria señorial. I can find jarritos, all the different kinds of sodas we drank in Mexico. I can find so many different kinds of peppers and lemons, or fruits or vegetables that you don't find in the common store here in the States that are brought from Mexico, like chayotes, or I was explaining that the limon, which you call a lime, we call limon, the small and green one is the one that we use to make limonada. So I can find them there. I can find everything I need to make a salsa. I can find the tomates verdes that had like the little covering, which are used to make a salsa verde. So that to me is very important because I can make some of the food that I know. And in Orlando, I saw that we were welcome and that we could also share our culture, which I think is very important. I have found out that when people from different countries share their culture, it is easier to have respect for each other because you get to know each other. And you see that we all want to have a family, a house, friends. Those are all very important. And I found that in Central Florida to be almost like a treasure.
My mom immigrated here to the US back in 1972, and having to learn English, didn't know too much about the American culture. So the expectation was opportunity for my mom and a better way of life. My name is Alex St. Louis. I was born and raised in Miami. First generation Haitian American, and that title alone by itself didn't understand until I got a little bit older. Getting out of my comfort zone was really good because from that point it opened my eyes to other opportunities. Again, opportunity to do better. I got a scholarship to go to the University of Florida, not for football, not for athletics, but for academics. You know, they said I had a brain, huh? Okay. So went to University of Florida, and at the same time I joined the Army. During that course, some things transpired where I could not finish my education at University of Florida because I had to take care of my mom, my brother and I. So decided to be central. So I ended up coming here to Orlando.
I'm Rebecca St. Louis, and I'm Alex's wife. One of the reasons why I fell in love with my husband was because he's very outgoing, he's very affectionate, he's always looking for new opportunities, he loves to help people. That was something that I saw in him, that he was ambitious. Coming from the first generation immigrant in the United States, he's always had a very hard work ethic. He saw his mother and his father struggle growing up, so he's always wanted better for himself and to pay it forward to those in his community that he could help.
My wife and I are very fortunate that we both work for the same company. Two different departments, but we both started in one. Conservation is one of those things that speaks to every language. But at the same time, if you don't know what you need to do, somebody is going to have to show you. So it's been a real treat that now in the role that I do have, that I'm able to meet with the customer, talk to the customer, and help the customer go from point A to B and to C and beyond, to help them have a lower bill so they can go out and enjoy what's in Orlando. They can go out and enjoy the beauty, experience the food, and the culture. Obviously, family inspiration is always the best inspiration because they give you the foundation of this is who we are, this is where we come from, and no matter what, don't forget where you come from. Haitian art for us is an expression of the times. My mom got me some Haitian art from Haiti. A guy, a slave with a chain on his ankle and him drinking water. When I look at that, it was a reminder, yes, Haiti was the first Black republic, Western Hemisphere to be free. Haiti also had talented people, not just freedom, but talented people. Sharing my story today with you guys, it was more of an obligation of saying that, hey, look, new technology, new year, new things, but some things don't change. That you have to give back. You have to want to be better. Bonjour, bonsoir. My name is Alex St. Louis, and this is my story.
Born in Hawaii, born and raised in Hawaii, and then went off to school. After high school, I went to play football up in Utah, of all states, Utah. So I had an opportunity at a little scholarship to go play football, and I still wanted to Grew up playing a lot of sports in Hawaii, like a lot of my friends, peers, whatever, you know. And growing up, I never thought I would do Polynesian dancing. Got involved with dancing and just loved it. I loved it and got really, I guess, submerged in it. And because of that, we traveled all over, like went to Indonesia, Singapore, and then Japan. Traveled all around, and then got to see the world through dancing. We're the only state that have our own official language. The only state in the 50 that have its own official language. And in the Hawaiian language, you know, everybody think about the Hawaiian language. Come on, what? So I know you guys got a bunch of vowels. I said, yeah, we got all the same vowels. Yeah. But, you know, we're kind of limited on when they put the language together. The reason we have the written language now, as far as Hawaii goes, was the missionaries. Prior to that, you know, passing on things to the, you know, next generation, it was all through the hula. And the hula is the dance, right? Whether it was kawaka'iko, ancient hula, or modern day hula, what you see is a little bit more of a softer style hula. But that's how stories and, you know, things was passed on prior to the written language. But as far as sharing the culture or you know, kind of perpetuating it and trying to share it with my kids, as far as the language goes, it just kind of goes hand in hand with the culture, whether it's, you know, learning how to prepare the food or different protocols. Yeah, periodically we'll use just words, you know. We often use, you know, Hawaiian words. And, oh, the food was delicious. Oh, that food was ono. You know, like, we're very tight-knit here in Central Florida. There's not like a large, huge community like some states, like Utah has a very large community. We're not like that. But here in Orlando, it's very unique because most of the Polynesians that came here, including myself, came here to perform. We're all pretty tight-knit. Like, everybody kind of knows each other. You know, it's like I said, we're not back in the islands, but we tend to gravitate toward each other.
In the olden days, they cook with firewood. They cook it at the back of the house. We don't have a modern kitchen like this. So the most difficult part of cooking back home is using the firewood to cook. And we don't have definitely fancy pots like this. We are lucky to be here. My name is Olajumoke Felo. I'm from Ijebu-Ode, Ogun State, but I was born and raised in Lagos, the capital city of Nigeria. In Nigeria, they make every female children cook. So I learned that cooking from when I was 11, 12. I can cook by myself for my siblings. When I was like 13, 14, I started cooking at least for like 50 people all by myself. So not too long from then, you know, I went to college and graduated and I got married. Then I went to Saudi Arabia and then I came to the United States. The first time I went to Lake Eola, oh my God, that gives me memory of when I was growing, watching American movies. I always have the vision like, someday I wish to be at this place. When I got here, like 20 years ago, I see we have a large community of Nigerians. So when we have church events, I started like cooking for people, for the church, for free. So that was how we started. And you know, my passion is to become a nurse in the United States. When I came, I still went for my vision. I graduated from nursing school, but I never practiced. So when I graduated, I was like, you know what? I can do this. So I started the project, and 1 year into looking for the space, the restaurant was ready. I choose what is common among the West African region. You know, they all eat jollof rice. So they all eat like the Ghanaian people, like the people from Cameroon. And there's always a rift between Ghana and Nigeria, like who makes the best jollof rice. So there's this guy that came and he's like, I want to eat something spicy. I said, how spicy do you want? He said, no, I ate, when I was 17, I ate ghost pepper. And I never know what ghost pepper is. So I was like, what about the pounded yam? He said, what you eat with your hand? I said, yes. Okay, bring that, but make it spicy. I said, okay. So I went in the kitchen, I brought it out to him. He looked at it, he was so like, really happy to see it. How do I eat this? I explained to him. So he took a bit of it and put it in his mouth and was like, this is so spicy. I said, are you okay? I could handle it. I could handle it. And he started turning red. And I'm like, sir, are you okay? He took like 3 bottles of water. But guess what? He sat there and he finished the food. Our names have meanings. So like Oluwatobi means God is great. Oluwaseyi fún mi, God has given me this. Oluwadara, God is good to me. So we give them middle names like that. Just like my name too, Fumilayo, God give me happiness. In Nigeria, we have the way we dress. Like the way I am now, I'm ready to party. That's what I'm wearing right now. This is Agbada Ashoke. Men put this on for a very distinct occasion. The woman goes with this and wraps around her waist like this, you know, to match with the man. And we have the outfit to go with it also. And this is the traditional way, like for your wedding, you have to make your dress like this. This is the Yoruba traditional way of wrapping the fabric. I just want people to open their heart so that they will be able to see the beauty of African and they will be able to see the beauty in individual. So we don't rate people by where they are from. If you have an open heart, then you're gonna see more good things in people. I've learned that in my ways, and you know, from the little time I opened the restaurant, when I listen to people from different culture, I really appreciate God and I appreciate them.